Well, today we have a privilege to hear from an incredible woman, a woman who was raised in the area of the high school. And so she, a number of years ago, and right here, Dr. Agnes Aidoo. And Dr. Agnes received her doctorate in, well, you'll hear all about it, but from UCLA. And I can barely even say UCLA, let alone to receive a doctorate from there. And so, and has gone on to have a very impressive career. Perhaps one of the more impressive things that she became vice chairperson of a committee at the United Nations on the rights of children. A great advocate for children and for the rights of children and for women. And so I want to, with no further ado, introduce Dr. Agnes to you. And so please welcome Dr. Agnes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father Kevin. Yes, sometimes they say Agnes Aidoo. Some say Agnes Aidoo, and ask, do you? I say, no, I don't. So it works in so many ways, my name. But really, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, dear brothers and sisters in Christ, distinguished guests, I am just awed and honored to be asked to speak at this important function, the first annual Rise and Shine breakfast to support the OLG Senior High School in Mamponting, Ghana, which is my hometown. I think we cannot overemphasize the important role that education plays in the upliftment of humanity and in the development of the social, cultural, and economic potentials of a country, any country. Caring, focused, and targeted education releases all the potentials and talents of individuals and turn the dreams of the young into realities. My life experience, and I imagine the experiences of many of us here today, show that the educational investments that our parents and communities made in us when we were young have placed us in situations and positions that are a lot better than our parents had. My mother never went to school. My father had only primary school education. They were food crop farmers living in a small village outside the gold mining town, Bibiani, in Ghana. They produced food mainly for the family and a little surplus that we sold to support the growing family. In the end, we were 12 children, and I'm the fourth. Our eldest sister, who lived with my paternal grandmother, did not go to school, because at that time in the 1930s, girls were not supposed to go to school. My two brothers, older than me, went to school and eventually went through to university. But when it came to my turn to start school, my parents and I had the strongest opposition from my parents' respective families, who saw a girl's education as misdirected and a waste of money. But my parents' determination to see all their children, boys and girls, educated was phenomenal. Papa and Mommy, as we call Dad and Mom, added cocoa farming to their food crop activities, and we, the children, helped on the farms on the weekends. During the week, we walked to school without shoes. We walked 3 miles to primary school. And we went to school carrying on our heads baskets full of bananas, yams, cassava, and so on, to give to an auntie in the town market to sell for our mother. And that is how we had our lunch money for school. Yes, I saw my mother painfully selling some of her best clothes and gold jewelry to support the education of her children. And she never went to school. In the end, 9 of us had university education and 2 had professional technical training. In my case, by the grace of God, I gained a welcome scholarship from the Catholic Sisters of the Society of the Holy Child Jesus to attend a leading Catholic girls' school in Cape Coast called the Holy Child School. That unexpected scholarship changed my life. A good Catholic education, secondary education for a village girl, paid for by English, Irish, and American sisters, opened a gateway to many of God's blessings in my life. I will not bore you with the details, but I cannot gloss over the fact that there were many challenges and oppositions along the way. And yes, I had to work very hard, study very hard to continue. In the end, I had an amazing array of scholarships coming to me from wherever, but it was from God, I mean. And I'll just summarize them for you very quickly. From Holy Child Secondary School, I won a competitive Canadian Commonwealth Scholarship to go to St. Paul's Jesuit College at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. I got my bachelor's degree in liberal arts there, majoring in English, history, political science, and Latin. But I tried. But what I struggled with was the weather in Winnipeg. Winnipeg was very, very cold. And I didn't know how to describe it to my parents, who never had electricity or refrigerator or anything. But my elder brother had a refrigerator and a deep freezer. So I wrote home to my parents to say, please imagine me walking in the deep freezer of Brother Tony. And my mother immediately got at my father and said, bring that girl back home, bring that girl back home. You know, is she going to freeze like the fish in Tony's deep freezer? No, really, my mother was unhappy about this situation, scholarship notwithstanding. But I persisted, and thanks to some great Canadian families and friends who helped me with winter coats and all the things you pull on and pull on and pull on and then pull off and pull off when you go into the room. I survived Winnipeg. And in the end, actually got the bachelor's degree with distinction and won the Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba's gold medal for scholastic achievement. Then a scholarship from a Canadian family, the Donald Vernon Snyder Memorial Scholarship, took me to the University of Toronto to do my master's in history and international relations. That was followed with a teaching assistantship from Los Angeles and going into the warmer climate was just heaven. Los Angeles, I went to UCLA to start my doctoral studies in African history and social anthropology. The change in climate and photographs of me wearing warm Ghanaian clothes, summer clothes, that I sent back to my parents settled my mother and said, well, okay, she can continue. You know, now I was in the right place with the sunshine in Los Angeles. Then this was followed by an unexpected international fellowship of the American Association of University Women, AAUW, that helped me to go to the University of London School of Oriental and African Studies to start research in the British colonial archives on the historical work I was doing, writing up for my PhD. In the end, an American Fulbright scholarship brought me back from Ghana, where I had started teaching actually, to complete my doctorate at UCLA. So I did complete my doctorate at UCLA on a Fulbright scholarship in 1975. My dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, who can tell me that scholarships don't work for poor and disadvantaged children? They do. They do. The scholarships made me feel free to study and go on to achieve the aims and goals of my life. The scholarships empowered me to be able to teach at university in Ghana and also at UCLA. I taught at UCLA for 3 years. The scholarships empowered me. You know, you gain confidence as you gain these scholarships and you say, oh wow, I have to use that for something. It enabled me to apply to work in the United Nations in the development field, working on women's development, children's development. And in the end, I stayed with the UN for 21 years. And I traveled and worked, trained people in numerous countries in Africa, Latin America, South Asia, and China. It was the power of the scholarships that spurred me on. To this day, I return with my siblings to the village near Bibiani where we grew up. And I see the good women who were my classmates in primary school. And I see that their lives are battered with poverty and lack of opportunity. And I say, there, but for the grace of God, I would also be. There, but for the unflinching support of my family and the God-given scholarships over the years, I would also be here, battered by poverty and lack of opportunity. It's this life story and this attitude towards education, the importance of education, that have inspired me to give back to Mamponting in my retirement and to Our Lady of Grace Senior High School, whatever I can, in time, work, and even in setting up a humble scholarship for girls from the Mamponting area in memory of my parents. Mamponting and the immediate surrounding villages make up a population of about 120,000. There are 4 public kindergarten schools in the town, 5 primary schools, 7 junior high schools, but no senior high school until the OLG Senior High School was established 4 years ago. While there are a few senior high schools in other parts of the district, their standards in terms of infrastructure, organization, and performance are relatively low and not encouraging for many parents to patronize these schools. The poverty level in Mamponting and its environs is high, so most children could not pay to go to schools far away from their hometown, where they'll have to pay for hostel accommodation and all of that, and travel far. And this has led to a lot of youth underdevelopment and unemployment, with all the attendant social challenges that the families and community face. The OLG Senior High School is a well-structured, well-equipped school near the growing numbers of the young people. It started its 3-year program only in the academic year 2013-2014. And by God's grace, as of July 2017, this year, 808 boys and girls have been blessed with senior high school education at this school. Of that number, 2 batches have already graduated, totaling 242 children. When the school started in my hometown, through our parish, that is in partnership with the OLG parish here in Edina, I resigned my work on the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, where I had been vice chairperson, and all that. I just said, perhaps I've done enough for the children of the world. Let me go back home and look for the poor children of my hometown and give some help in any way that I could. And I did that. I resigned from the UN job. I still had about 1.5 years of my second term to complete, but I left it and went to Ghana and went into the OLG school and said, here I am. Father Paul, who was running this school, had no secretary, no administrative officer, no project officer. I said, how are you going to run this project with no secretary, no administrative officer? Here I am. You know, my computer skills are not that good, but I can help a little bit. And that's where I started helping in this school. Now, the story of one of our students, Hubert Apana, will be shown shortly in a video. This is a boy from a truly deprived background, and I've been to his home, met his mother. His father died when he was 12, the mother, 7 children, and we will see the story. But the boy who went to the OLG Senior High School finished, topping his class, and is the pioneer group, and in the end, winning admission to Ghana's leading private university, Ashesi University College. And guess what? He gained a full-ride MasterCard Foundation scholarship to study computer engineering. And this is only after 3 years of being of ALG. Several of our graduates are also entering public universities in Ghana, teacher training colleges, nursing training colleges, polytechnics, and so on. The OLG Senior High School's reputation is beginning to spread. The impact of all these children will be seen in a few years when they enter the world of work and when they begin to support their families and help their younger siblings to move along. We are setting up structures and procedures to monitor the progress of our graduates from this school. The Mamponting community has also benefited from the school in terms of employment at the school for many people from the area, and in terms of a sense of social upliftment in the area. Discussions are going on now, and I'm involved in this, to upgrade the Catholic KG and basic schools into model schools so that they can feed Our Lady of Grace Senior High School. With God, all things are possible, my dear Christian friends. With God, all things are possible. I just want to thank you, but I cannot thank you enough for sparing your time here this morning to be OLG Senior High School's extended community, prayer partners, and generous funders of dreams. Your presence here is heartwarming for those of us on the ground, trying in our little ways to share God's love and give back to the poor communities in Ghana. A lot has been given to me through scholarships, and I must share that blessing with God's children for a better future. My passion and commitment are in education, and I'm so grateful that our sister parish, OLG Parish in Edina, and especially Warren and Marilyn Staley and many other friends from this community have been able to help to build the OLG Senior High School in Mamponting, my hometown, to help our bright but needy students to rise and shine. I thank you.